Hey guys, congratulations, you clicked on a video about NFTs, which means you might have some of the following thoughts. What the hell's an NFT? They're just expensive JPEGs. Why are people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for pictures of apes and penguins and stuff like that? They're just the Beanie Babies of today. It's going to be a fad. It's going to pass by. I can just right click, save your NFT. I can just screenshot your NFT. These are just cash grabs. It's a Ponzi scheme, or I just don't get it. So in all honesty, when I first heard of NFTs, that was some of the first thoughts that I had too. I did not understand it. I was very, very confused. I was like, why are people paying $1 million for a picture of a rock? The first tweet, why did that sell for $3 million? This is literally the first tweet. I'm literally looking at it on the screen right now. Someone just paid $3 million for this. I don't understand it. So I'm making this video to hopefully try to give you the aha moment that I have when it finally clicked as to why there was value for it. I am not trying to sell you on loving it or hating it. I just think there is a lot of misconceptions about it. I'd say the majority of people actually don't understand about NFTs. I'm not trying to push you to love it or hate it either way, just kind of get an understanding about it and hopefully have that aha moment that I had. And then also, this is a music tech channel, so this is a little bit different than what I normally do. However, I'm going to specifically address where I think this can really help artists and musicians. If you're still new to NFTs, hopefully this will give you some clarity. But if you are a musician or artist, I'm going to address how this can benefit you potentially, maybe. And I do think that news media and social media and everyone sharing the craziest stories about NFTs hasn't done it any good as far as understanding what a possible use case for this could be. So people always share, here's a picture of a rock that sold for $1 million. Here's the tweet that sold for $3 million, or this crap, this is a real thing. This is a real thing that is going on. I don't blame people for seeing NFTs and going, this is the dumbest crap ever. We only share the insane stories and the stuff that just gets kind of clicks, So in this video, I want you to start from scratch. Forget that there's rocks selling for $1 million and fart NFTs are a thing. Just completely forget about that. I just want to give you the aha moment that I got when I finally started to see the potential or the possible potential. None of us know the future, but at least give you the aha moment that I had when I was learning about these. All right, so if you are going to watch this video, if you clicked on it, just do me a favor and watch the whole thing. If one part doesn't make sense, if you get 5 minutes into it and you're going, this doesn't make any sense, I think a lot of you will actually have that. And again, that aha moment might not come within the first 10 minutes or something like that. If you can't watch this video right now, hit save till later, text it or email it to yourself and watch it later. Seriously, do you have time to watch this right now? This video is about 40 minutes long. If you don't have a half hour to spare right now, I wouldn't even start this video. I did design this to try to explain it in as much detail as possible, because a lot of videos, they try to give these short explanations and assume that you know all these things already about NFTs, and I tried to make this as comprehensive as possible. So if you can't make it to at least the half hour mark, at least come back and watch this video when you can. Okay, this first part, I know you thought the intro was boring, right? This first part, I went back and forth on if I should include this in the video or not. This is an understanding about NFTs, what they are, how they work using something called blockchain, and information about that. If you already know what an NFT is, you already know what blockchain is, how to buy an NFT, you know what a digital wallet is, and you know what decentralization is, you can skip to this spot on the screen. However, I think a lot of people don't understand NFTs because they don't understand how you can own a digital asset like this. So I think this is actually very important in order to understand how this works. Bear with me on this one. And again, remember, if you don't get the aha moment here, wait a little bit and the aha moment might come in a later chapter. All right, so first off, we have to define what non-fungible token means. NFT stands for non-fungible token. People get really caught up on what non-fungible means. I think this is the least valuable part. Don't check out at this part. It's just to define it so you can understand it, but I think it's the least important part. But people often ask this question, so I'm going to answer it. So for something to be fungible, it means that you can replace or interchange it with an item of a similar value. That doesn't help you at all, right? So if you think about it, if I have a 20 and you have a 20, we can swap those 20s and it's the exact same value. Those are fungible tokens or fungible items. You have a 20, I have a 20, we can swap it. If I have a 20 and you have two 10s, we can swap those because those have the same value. That is a fungible item. I have the Matrix movie on Blu-ray. You have the Matrix movie on Blu-ray. We can swap those movies. It's the same value. Those are fungible items. So non-fungible will be something like the Mona Lisa. And if you watch any other NFT videos, you're going to see the Mona Lisa be brought up all the time in all these videos, but it's actually a great example. So if you own the actual Mona Lisa, you own the Mona Lisa, and I have a copy of the Mona Lisa that's a replica. It's printed out the same exact size. It looks identical, same type of paper. It looks the same. Why can't we swap those? The Mona Lisa is a non-fungible token because there's only one original Mona Lisa. It doesn't matter that I have one that looks exactly the same or is an exact replica of it. That one holds more value because it's the original painting. If you have, going back to that Matrix DVD, if you have a copy of the Matrix DVD or the Matrix Blu-ray, and I have a copy of the Matrix Blu-ray, but my copy is signed by the cast. Keanu Reeves signed my copy. Mine has more value, therefore you can think of it as non-fungible. Is that making sense? At least a little bit, at least in that sense. Don't worry about applying it to the digital world yet for NFTs, but just think of it as the Mona Lisa, right? There's only one. Doesn't matter if I replicate it or not. The original one holds more value. It might not hold value to you. You might not want to buy the Mona Lisa, but there are a lot of people out there who do want to buy the Mona Lisa. And they value the original Mona Lisa as opposed to a replica of it. Making sense? So NFTs are a way to do this in the digital world. Now, this is where a lot of people get lost. They're like, why does it matter digitally? I'm going to get there. But again, just think of non-fungible tokens like the Mona Lisa. I was talking about this with someone, and they brought up a good point. They said it's the versus a. The Mona Lisa or a picture of the Mona Lisa. The holds more value than a Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa is more valuable than a Mona Lisa. If that kind of helped click the light bulb a little bit. Okay, so next up, the most important part to understand about NFTs is blockchain and blockchain technology. So I am going to go over this briefly and just give you the basic understanding of it. If you do want to find out more, I'm going to post links down below to find out more information about blockchain and blockchain technology. Okay, so when you hear blockchain, I want you to think of a digital ledger. A digital ledger. And that ledger contains information and data about different transactions. So we already have digital ledgers currently. A bank, they have a ledger of all the transactions that you've done for transferring money. So when you withdraw 20 bucks or you pay your electric bill, that's all recorded on a digital ledger. So we already understand what a ledger is. So what the blockchain does is it contains information of, let's say, applying to NFTs. So I have a picture of a duck NFT. It's a picture of a duck. I sell the picture of that NFT to my friend Bob for $10. On the blockchain, that information is recorded that I sold and transferred this NFT for $10. Again, don't worry about, we're going to get to how I own it here in a minute. And then 2 months later, Bob sells that NFT to Steve for $15. That information is recorded on the digital ledger, on the blockchain. And then Steve sells it to Jane for $20, a year later or something like that. All that information is recorded in this ledger. The blocks contain the information, so the date, the transaction amount, the ownership, what is the asset, and it contains all that information, and it's stored on a digital ledger. So when you think of blockchain, think of digital ledger. Again, if you're confused, you know how a bank ledger works, right? Same idea. It's just logging the information, right? It's the ledger of the transactions. It's the same thing with blockchain. The difference with blockchain is that it's something called decentralized. So if something is centralized, your bank is centralized. If you go to Wells Fargo has that ledger. They're the ones who have it, meaning that someone could change it if they wanted to. And there's a central, figure that controls that. Wells Fargo controls that ledger. With blockchain, it's decentralized, which means there's multiple computers around the world contributing to this digital ledger. So one computer in Asia has a copy of this ledger. One computer in California has it. One in New York, one in Australia, or tons of them all over the world. And they all get copies of this ledger. So as soon as I sell this NFT, that's reported onto the ledger. So decentralization is valuable because now once that's confirmed on this digital ledger, that's in there forever. And the reason why is because if someone tried to hack into it and say, oh, Scott never sold that NFT, it never actually happened, you have bunch of computers all over the world saying, no, this did happen. It's confirmed here on January 8th, 2022, Scott did sell this NFT picture to Bob for $10. So that's what's different about decentralization. It's not one central place. It's not Wells Fargo that contains all that information. Multiple computers around the world contain that information. Why is that valuable? Because, and this is actually what's really important and why it applies to musicians and artists, is that there's no middleman. I mean, technically there is a middleman because all these computers have to confirm it, but there's no CEO of the blockchain. There's no central authority figure that can tell you you can't swap these assets. It is up to Scott and Bob. Scott wanted to sell the NFT. Bob wanted to buy it. That happens between the two of them. There's no middleman involved with it, right? It's peer to peer. It's very important for when it comes to artists. So with blockchain, there's no CEO that controls the information. You get to send that peer to peer. It is a peer to peer network. It's decentralized. There's no central figure controlling all of it. Wells Fargo is not in control of it. The entire blockchain network, which is distributed as a digital ledger all around the world. If this isn't following, it's okay. But again, if your aha moment hasn't come, it probably hasn't come yet. We've got this far, so keep going. All right, so at this point, a lot of people are like, but yeah, how does the computer work? If there's no middleman, if there's no CEO, how does it work? I will post links down below if you want to find out more. It does get a little bit confusing. Let me try to explain it really briefly. I found this. Once a block is composed and the transaction is confirmed, the NFT is sent to the block transfer agent, or the BTA. This communication is done with the simple blockchain transfer protocol, also known as SBCTP. The SBCTP queries the blockchain system, the BCS, to find the blockchain address of the recipient. This is done with the help of a block exchanger, the BX record. Okay, so did any of that make sense to you? No, and that didn't make sense to me either. But guess what? That's not how blockchain works. That's actually how email works. I Googled, how does email work? And I found this article. I just replaced the word mail with blockchain or NFT to make it sound like it fit with it. This is how email works. Do you understand that? 99.9% of you probably have no idea what the hell this means. I don't understand what this means. My point is that everyone has to really have this understanding of how it works, but we don't know how email works. We don't know how our phone connects to the internet. I know when I hit send on email, it sends to the correct address if I've typed it in correctly. I know to swipe down and then turn on or off my Bluetooth on my phone. I know how to use that, but I don't actually know what it does. I'm only using this as a point to just say, understand that there's no middleman with this. It's peer-to-peer, it's decentralized, and the blockchain is a digital ledger of information of transactions. Again, if you do want to find out more, I will post links down below, but just for the sake of this video, just go with me that you understand those main things. 3 things. Blockchain is a digital ledger, a bunch of blocks of data that are chained together. That data cannot be changed once it's been inputted, which gives it what's called immutability. You cannot change it after it's been recorded. It's decentralized, which means that it's stored on multiple computers around the world, so there's not one central point of failure. And 3, there's no CEO or middleman for this transaction to take place. It's truly peer-to-peer. The two parties who want to transact are the two who get to transact. Okay, last part on your education. You've made it this far. As far as how do you own these assets? That's where a lot of people think that just screenshotting it is the same thing. Well, we've already established that these assets, these JPEGs or whatever you want to call them, the NFTs are confirmed on the blockchain on a digital ledger. So how do you connect with that ledger? So you need something called a digital wallet. So a digital wallet is what communicates with the blockchain, and that's how you actually own it. Just in the same way when you have an actual wallet and you get dollar bills into your wallet, a digital wallet is how you own digital items. Make sense? So that's why right-click save as is not the same thing. It's not stored in your digital wallet. Saying right-click save as is the same thing as owning the NFT is the same thing as, remember this was the bank transaction. If I saved this to my computer, does that mean I can do anything with this? No, I can see it. It looks the same, but I don't have access to the data. I can't do anything with it. Does that make at least a little sense? It's a JPEG on your desktop. It's not the same thing. So for example, MetaMask is one of the most popular digital wallets as of right now. There's Trust Wallet, there's Engine Wallet, there's all sorts of different wallets that can store your NFTs. So if you look here, you can see that you have your cryptocurrencies, because cryptocurrency is done with the blockchain. Normally you have to use cryptocurrency to pay for these NFTs because they're stored on the blockchain. There's different blockchains, I'll address that here in just a second, but usually you have to use cryptocurrency. So you see how many cryptos you have, and then you see the NFT that you own or the assets that you own in a digital wallet. Again, Scott, I want to send Bob my duck NFT. You would either scan this QR code right here, or you would copy this address. This is the address of where I'm going to send that NFT. Just like kind of like I do with Venmo. I scan that QR code, or I say, Bob Smith 1 is the address that I send it to. It's the exact same thing. So when I'm sending a Venmo, I can either scan that QR code or say send to Bob Smith 1. It's the exact same thing with a digital wallet. I can either scan this QR code to send this NFT, or I can get this string of numbers and that is the address that I'm going to send it to. And therefore, Bob will receive the NFT. Make sense? So I can send that NFT from my digital wallet to Bob's digital wallet. A lot of people don't even know that's an option, don't even know what a digital wallet is. Therefore, they think you can just screenshot an NFT. So this is why I'm going over it again. This might be a little too much, but you see how right-click save as is not the same thing as actual ownership of it? I'm going to address why you might want to do this here in a little bit, but you at least see why right-click save as is not a real thing. You don't actually own this, right? The digital ledger contains the information of who owns that NFT, and the way that's confirmed is in your digital wallet. Making sense? At least a little bit. You might still be like, why? I don't understand why I would want to buy that. Just at least understand how you own an NFT. Just at least understand that. I haven't gotten to the why yet. I want you to just understand that that is how you actually own these NFTs, is through a digital wallet, which is confirmed on the digital ledger of the blockchain. Making sense at least a little bit? So that's how you own it. And keep in mind, there's no middleman. It's just peer-to-peer. I'm going to keep saying that over and over again so that you don't forget. If you're still confused as to why you would own anything digital or do anything like this in a digital wallet, do any of you use Apple Pay or Samsung Pay or anything like that? Do any of you do Venmo or PayPal? Is there any physical goods that are exchanged with those services? When you do a bank transfer even, it's just ones and zeros being updated in a ledger. It's the exact same thing here. It's just decentralized and there's no middleman. So again, if you understand that there's nothing physical with Venmo, PayPal, or bank transfers, you can understand NFTs. At least begin to get a grasp of it. All right, we finally made it to the why. Why are these NFTs a thing? So congratulations if you're still with me, or if you skipped ahead and jumped to this part. So currently, NFTs can be seen as collectibles. This is the part that I personally actually don't understand and I'm not really on board with. But it is important to understand one of the values of this. And this is why they're kind of called expensive JPEGs, which I can actually see in this case. So they're currently collectibles. Again, this doesn't make sense to me, but you need to understand that it makes sense to some people. Just in the same way with the Mona Lisa, I personally would not want to buy the Mona Lisa. I would rather buy a new guitar or a new MIDI controller or something like that. But there are people that want the original Mona Lisa, not a replica. Same thing here. There are people who want these NFTs and they want the ownership of it as a collectible. Another way that I've heard it described is, getting the blue check mark. On Twitter, when you get the blue check mark, that shows a form of authenticity, that this is really Justin Bieber's Twitter profile, right? It's not a fake. It's the actual Justin Bieber that you're talking to on here. So here's a site that shows you all the NFTs that Steph Curry himself owns, right? These are his NFTs. He can show that he owns these NFTs and has these expensive items or these rare items, because NFTs, are usually limited. There's a certain fixed supply of them. So you can say, hey, I own one of the 10,000 apes that are out there. It's a collectible item. Because again, we know that there is actual ownership using a digital wallet. It's not just right-click save as. So you can show, hey, I own these assets. Again, it's not for me personally. I'm the one doing the NFT video. I personally don't see the value in that for me personally. But you have to understand there are people who do. Again, the Mona Lisa, I don't value it. Other people do. And the thing is that we already do this in the physical world, right? A signed copy of things. My Matrix Blu-ray example, right? Signed by Keanu Reeves holds value to certain people. It might not hold value to you. You might hate the Matrix. You might hate Keanu Reeves, or you might not care for autographs. But we can at least agree that there is a crowd out there that would want a signed copy of the Matrix Blu-ray, right? It holds value to some people as a collectible item. Where it does click with me is like first edition stuff. I was huge into Pokemon when I was younger. I collected so many of those cards. So you'd go to the store, you'd buy a set of cards, you'd open it up, you'd get one rare one, like 5 medium rare ones and a bunch of super common ones. And you were hoping to get that holographic one, right? The holographic card that was the super rare one, or especially the first edition one, right? So in this aspect, I've been through this before as a collectible. And maybe you should ask yourself if you've ever collected anything as well. For me, it was the Pokemon thing. Why was my holographic Charizard not as valuable as your holographic Charizard that had the first edition stamp on it, right? Just a little stamp that said first edition on it, but it held more valuable as a collectible. Or why is this JPEG of a first edition Charizard not as valuable as actually owning one? I just right-click save to this, right? But the physical one holds more value. I understand that, right? So I collected a ton of them. And again, I personally don't use these for collectibles. I'm going to get to where I think it actually holds value for me personally here next. And at this point, you might be saying, this is dumb. I understand holding something in the physical world. Why in the digital world? And yeah, it might seem dumb, but I would ask you this. Do you have pictures on your phone or on your Instagram or on your Facebook? That's a digital item. That's not a physical item, but those hold value to you. You like having pictures of you with a memory that you had or a trip that you took or whatever. You hold value in that digital item. But I don't think that's the most important part of NFTs. All right, you deserve a medal for making it this far. Here's where I think people are missing information about NFTs and that you might not know. So there is a utility case that comes with owning these NFTs. We have understand how we own this digital asset, this NFT. We know how we own it. Right-click Save As is not the same thing. It's held in our digital wallet that's confirmed on the digital ledger known as the blockchain. So owning an NFT comes with more than just owning the artwork. I want you to think of it this way, right? We already kind of do this. We own digital things already that give us new utilities, right? If I wanted to go see Tool in concert, right? I go to Ticketmaster, I pay $100 in fees. When I pay for that, I get a digital copy of the ticket, right? I mean, some people can still print them off, but most people have a smartphone now. It's a digital copy. I paid for this item. It's a digital item, right? It's just a QR code. But that QR code gives me access when I go to the concert, to the venue that I'm going to go see Tool at. I present this QR code. The guy at the door scans it and lets you in, and you get to see the concert. Do you see what I mean? You get a value out of a digital item. I didn't actually have a physical ticket. I had a digital thing on my phone, and it granted me access to the Tool concert. So that's already an example of how a digital thing can grant you other utility cases. I used that digital item to get me something else. It wasn't just a collectible. See where I'm going with this? So when you own an NFT, you can get these other utilities out of it. You can get these other use cases out of it. So what are some use cases that you can get? Or what are some examples of current ones? But there is one other thing that I think a lot of people don't actually know, is that when you create an NFT, so let's say I created that duck NFT, right? I was the one who created it and I sold it to Bob for $10. Still this duck123 NFT. When I create that NFT, or minted is something as it's called, when I create that NFT, and it's confirmed on the blockchain. When I do that, I can put in the data and the contract or the metadata or whatever you want to call it in the information on this NFT is when it transfers from one wallet to another one. So when it goes from Scott to Bob to Steve to Jane, every time it does that, I can put in a royalty. So I created this NFT, and in the NFT and the data, I say whenever someone sells it, I get 10% of that sale. And that's pretty common, actually. Almost all the NFTs do this. So when I sell it to Bob, that sale already went to me, so I got 100% of that. But then Bob sells it to Steve for $15. I get $1.50 of that. And then Bob keeps the rest. And then Steve is going to sell that to Jane for $20, and I keep $2 of that sale. So the original person who created this NFT, they keep getting this passive income every time that someone sells that. See the value in that for musicians and artists, especially musicians who don't make a lot of money with digital stuff? With streamings, how much does Spotify screw over artists? Starting to understand that. A lot of people don't know that there's a royalty stream that comes from these NFTs. So I wanted to make sure, because again, we're in this part of what people are missing about NFTs. There's two things. There's that passive income that I just mentioned about royalties and keep coming in, and that you get a use case or a utility case out of it, out of owning these NFTs. They're not just collectibles sometimes, not always. Sometimes they are just collectibles. And now finally, we're going to start going to what are some use cases out of NFTs. All right, so what are some possible use cases that you get out of owning these NFTs? Again, just like that concert ticket going to Tool, I had a digital copy of the ticket. I used that digital item to gain access to a concert. What are some other example of use cases out of it? So first of all, NFTs don't have to be JPEGs. They can be movies or songs, or anything digital. It could be pieces of music or a video or a ticket, like in my example, or an ID or something like that, proof of ownership of something. It's not just JPEGs. So make sure you keep that in mind. Anything digital can be the NFT. So, for example, the Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? One of the most expensive ones. Eminem, Dave Chappelle, Steph Curry, Jimmy Fallon, a bunch of them are spending a ton of money on these things, $500,000. One of the things that they got is they actually rented a yacht. They actually rented a yacht, and if you proved that you owned a Bored Ape, one of the Bored Ape Yacht Clubs, you got access to go on this yacht. It was a free ticket. That was how you got on to the yacht. So that's very similar to the Tool concert example that I gave, right? here's my ticket. I own this asset. I get access to going on a yacht. Another one, which you might have heard of, is the Snoop Dogg one. This video is already long enough. So, the metaverse is a digital world. Watch Ready Player One if you kind of want to see what it is, or an augmented reality or a virtual reality thing where you're in a different type of world. Not going to get into that, but Snoop Dogg, he has a mansion in the metaverse, in the sandbox metaverse specifically, and he has sold a certain number of tickets to come hang out with him in the metaverse. So in the digital world, you can go hang out with Snoop Dogg. It's a concert. There's comedy shows going on in the metaverse and stuff like that. The NFTs are your access to that in the digital world. So you can see a digital concert with this NFT. It doesn't have to be physical, but in this digital world, you get access to this thing in a digital world. It's like a video game, where you get to upgrade your sword if you have a certain number of coins or something like that. It's the same idea. It might not hold value to you. You might be like, I don't want to go see Snoop Dogg in the metaverse. I want to go actually see Snoop Dogg in the real world. But for some people, that holds value. One of the most interesting ones for me is Nas and Blau. They've actually sold their NFTs for their royalties for their streaming. So basically, let's say Blau has sold an NFT for 1% of his royalties for streaming or video sync or anything like that, right? So let's say he made $100 in streaming for the month. That person who owns that NFT gets 1%, so $1 for that month because they own 1% of the royalties, and that is given as an NFT. Now, this person can sell that NFT to someone else. They're like, oh, this isn't making enough money. And someone comes along and say, hey, I'll give you $200 for that NFT because they really think that his song is really going to keep blowing up or something like that. And you can resell it. That is a really fascinating thing for musicians. Here's an NFT, and my utility or my use case or my benefit of owning this is that I get 1% of all future royalty sales from this song by Blau, right? Makes sense? That's pretty cool. That's one of the most interesting things for me as a musician, especially. And then one of the original ones of a use case is the Kings of Leon. They actually sold one of their albums completely as an NFT, so you could buy it as an NFT. And I need to look up the exact details on it. I believe they had like 3 different tiers type of thing. So it wasn't exactly like this, but it's like $10 you get the album, $20 you get this extra artwork, and then they sold a certain number of golden tickets is what it's called. The golden tickets, I believe they sold 6 and then they held on to like 12 or something like that. But these golden tickets, if you have these golden tickets, you get front row seats to any of their concerts anywhere around the world. If you have that golden ticket, you get front row seats to their concerts around the world. That's pretty killer. So it doesn't just have to be in the digital world. You still get physical things out of this. Again, it might not hold value to me. I'm not really a Kings of Leon fan, but it holds value to other people. One of the things that I think is a cool way to do this, I don't believe they did this. I think they said you could buy this golden ticket if you would like. One of the things that I think is cool is, hey, we're only giving away 10,000 copies of our album. And out of those 10,000, we're giving 6 lucky people will randomly be also given this golden ticket. Get the album of the artist that you like, if you like Kings of Leon, and have this potential to get this golden ticket, to have front row seats forever. And again, anybody can sell that you can transfer these non-fungible tokens to anyone else. So say someone gets that and they're like, I can't really go to this, but I can sell this for $10,000 to someone who's willing to buy it. And then Kings of Leon get that royalty from it. See how many layers this thing can go to? But I mean, just keep using your imagination. There's airdrops is what it's called. So I know that Bob has my NFT duck right now. Because he owns NFT duck 123, I can then send him a golden ticket like the Kings of Leon did. They said, whoever owns this one, I can send this to you as well. It's called airdrops. So I can send you this other thing. Or if you bought that Kings of Leon album, maybe they release a single and they send it just to their NFT holders. You can get other things airdropped to you if you own that NFT. So use your own imagination with that, of the value that comes from owning an NFT and getting, more exclusive content just for owning that NFT. So I have an idea for releasing an NFT. Okay, I'm not trying to sell you on my NFT. It's not even out yet. This is just me brainstorming an idea. My project, I'm releasing an album, and it's a concept album. So instead of releasing it all at once, I'm going to release them one at a time. So each song one at a time, there's going to be a graphic novel and a video that go with it, and blah, blah, blah. I'm really selling my band here. I'll sell you my band all the time. I'm still an indie musician, so check out my music project. I'll sell you on that all the time, but I'm not trying to get you to buy my NFT. I'm trying to brainstorm of an idea that I can do, is that if you buy an NFT, there's like 10 of them. If you pay for these, there's only 10 copies of the NFT. If you do that, I will airdrop, I will send you the next song. There's 10 different chapters of it. So when the next one's ready to come out, I'll send it to you, a week before it comes out onto Spotify, and I'll send you the graphic novel in a digital copy as well as the music video. You get all that access to that a week early if you own this NFT. Again, just brainstorming ideas. So hopefully it's starting to click now of some of the things that you can get out of this. And the thing is that, again, a lot of people think like this is digital, this doesn't make any sense. But we already do a lot of things digital, right? Cash transactions, we don't do cash a whole lot anymore. We do Venmo or PayPal or Zelle or bank transfers, right? That's literally updating a ledger. That's updating a ledger of ones and zeros of how much of this asset you own. We already do that digitally. We pay Netflix. We don't get anything physical from Netflix. But when we pay Netflix, we unlock the content that is in Netflix. If I want to watch Ozark, which I can't wait for the new season, I'm going to have a Netflix membership so that I can absorb that content. And it's a digital content. I don't get anything physical from watching Ozark. I get the satisfaction of watching a show that I really enjoy. We already do this in the digital age. We already do this. You don't have to have things physical to unlock this content. Same with like a Patreon, there's a few people that I support on Patreon. I don't get anything physical from them. I get new videos about their analysis on certain things. I don't get anything physical from them. It's unlocking that access. So with an NFT, let's say Metallica sells 1,000 NFTs. There's only 1,000 out there. Those 1,000 people get access to some live stream concerts and some, Q&As with the band or something like that. We already kind of do that with Patreon. With an NFT, there's no middleman. Patreon can't shut down your account. Patreon can't take a fee from it. It's peer-to-peer, that's it. Are you seeing how that can really benefit musicians? And again, so Metallica sells 1,000 of these NFTs that get exclusive access to a live stream. And then 10 of those people decide to sell it. And then Metallica makes a 10% or whatever royalty on those sales. There's so much value in that. So with stuff like Netflix or, Spotify or Patreon or Venmo, we already do stuff digitally. It's not really that big of a stretch for me to get to this next step. This is just the next step is like a digital ownership type of thing. So at least it makes sense to me. Hopefully it makes sense to you now. Then one more thing about being digital, the digital world. It's no secret that musicians get screwed all the time by Spotify taking more, or labels or management or something like that. Musicians get screwed over a lot. Musicians earn most of their money with merch and touring and sponsorships and stuff like that. The digital stuff and song sales is non-existent, right? This is a way because it's peer-to-peer. There's no middleman. Artist to fan with no middleman in between. That's why I kept pushing that at the beginning in the education part of this. And that is decentralized. There's no middleman. There's no one telling you can or can't do that. That's a huge plus for artists who are constantly getting screwed over. So maybe, just maybe, this is a way to give the power back in the digital world. The possibilities really are endless with this. And it's really up to you to be creative. Anyone can create an NFT, and the market is already oversaturated. Everything is just like a bunch of different pictures of different animals and stuff like that. It is oversaturated, but if you make something unique that stands out, that's where the value is going to come from in the future, at least from me. This thing is still very, very new. So offer something unique. Man, I can't believe you've made it this far. So props to you if you've made it this far. And you can't go this far without saying, here's some negative things. Here's some things that I can see that actually lead this to truly be the Beanie Babies of today. First of all, with that the royalty thing, it's definitely going to be confusing that you don't own the copyright to it. So you can't say, oh, if you own that 1% of the royalties, it doesn't mean you own 1% of the copyright. I don't get to say, oh, well, I don't want you to put that in a Dunkin' Donut commercial or something like that. That's going to be definitely interesting. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with that. The biggest problem I see is that people really hate NFTs right now. There's a lot of people who really hate it. You go into some of the comments and some people are just passionately hating about it, which is part of the reason why I made this video, is that I think some of them don't quite understand it. Some of them see it as just cash grabs and people trying to get rich, which I'm going to address because I totally agree. There's a ton of that going on in here. But there is absolutely still a use case out of it. But man, people hate NFTs right now. And the thing that worries me is that, once you passionately hate something, once you passionately hate Nickelback or Nicki Minaj or whatever, it's really hard to leave that tribe. But we kind of get into this mindset. And at the same time, once you love NFTs, you're overly in love with them and stuff like that. But, if someone really hates it, it doesn't matter how much you explain it to them. In this world, you're committed to your tribe, now. So if you've if you're anti-NFT and you've really pushed that, it's really hard to convince people to get out of that. So that's definitely a concern. People really hate it. So hopefully, especially if you've made it this far, hopefully you've kind of at least seen the potential out of them. Another reason why I want to do this video is just trying to give an understanding, not try to push you to buy an NFT, try to get you an understanding about it. I think that we need more of that instead of this super passionate thing and all these dumb things, as well, like the fart NFTs, and everybody clicks on that because that's the only thing that people know about NFTs is that the people are selling digital farts or rocks for expensive amount of money. That can really be a downfall. And if it turns enough people off to it, they're not going to be interested in learning actual positive cases out of it. So that's definitely a concern. As far as the cash grab, I 100% agree. There's a ton of people out there that are just going for cash grabs. Ton of it out there. Like McDonald's and Coca-Cola doing NFT drops. I don't think they actually really understand it. This is from the McDonald's NFT drop of the McRib. They did a collectible McRib NFT. There's no value to this. If you read it here, it even says, like you can own this NFT of a McRib, but then you can always come in and, get one yourself or something like that if you're really hungry. It's like, what? Like sell, give unlimited McRibs to whoever owns this NFT, or free fries every time you buy a McRib while it's in season. Or something. Give some sort of utility case out of it. This is 100% just a cash grab for McDonald's, and they might just not understand the assets. So I am going to bash them because it's a bad NFT. McDonald's is totally just doing a cash grab with that. That's all that it is. Give a utility case with it. So I can see why people are getting annoyed with it. It annoyed me. All right, so you made it this far. So congratulations. So that's basically it. I did want to leave you with two kind of final thoughts. Is that one, established artists are going to be able to use this. Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park, he's big into this. He's going to have an easier time selling these because he already has a fan base. Whereas someone like me, who doesn't have a big fan base right now, hopefully someday, I'm going to have a lot more trouble selling NFTs. So, the Katy Perry's selling NFTs. She's got tons of people who will buy that, just like how she has a ton of people who will buy her merch and her CDs and stream her music and stuff like that. I don't, because I don't have as big of an audience. This isn't going to be just a magic pill to get indie artists, recognized. You still are going to have to do the work as an indie artist to find your audience. Kings of Leon and Katy Perry are going to have an easy time selling these, but most of you are probably independent artists trying to understand NFTs, or maybe you're just a regular person trying to understand NFTs. I try to cater this to both of you. The last thing I want to just point out, ultimately, we just don't know what the future holds. We really don't know what this is. It'll be really cool to see in 5 years how well this video aged. It's either going to be, oh, it was truly the Beanie Babies, or it was the start of something completely new. Think of how much the iPhone changed, or the internet, or all these changes, It could be that, or it could be the Beanie Babies, or Pogs, or fidget spinners, or something that just died off. Who knows? We'll find out in about 5 years. Nobody knows the future. Don't listen to anyone that says they do. And it's staged right now. I mean, think of mobile phones. Think of the big bricks that you had to have when you had a mobile phone. And then now we have smartphones that I'm literally filming this video on. I have cameras. I have Apple Pay. I can check my email. How many things advanced with that? So this is at the beginning of this new asset class, if it does stick around. One of my favorite quotes that someone said is, you couldn't have imagined Uber when the internet was being built. How many people could have predicted Uber when the internet was being built? I like that quote. So if this thing does stick around, it's going to be really curious how it goes from email to Wikipedia to Uber and where it goes from there. That's basically it. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If this did give you that aha moment, just do me a favor, hit the like button. This was a long video, took a lot to put together. It's a free way to help support the channel. It is a way to help get the video out into more viewers. If you hit the like button, the YouTube algorithm will go, oh, this is a good video, and recommend it to more people. Helps out my channel, helps more people get the aha moment. So I definitely appreciate it. Just take a second and hit that like button. You can always subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future. So thank you guys again for watching. Follow me on my social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Scott Ewell Music. Instagram's my favorite out of those. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future, although this was kind of a slightly different one. But still music tech channel, and maybe I'll talk about this more in the future. So thank you guys again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time, possibly in the metaverse.